Do I want to change my name? I'm not sure they're talking to me or you, but if you're asking me, no.
But you could always go shopping at the little gift shop.
Who wants to go shopping at an airport? Who wants to spend 3 times the price on a...
Me. I like to.
Love her. Love her. She got my baby. Of course. Mwah, mwah. Love her. No, we did not break up. Everything's still great.
Get ready, because what we are about to uncover isn't just another relationship drama. It's a ticking time bomb. Gypsy Rose Blanchard and Ken Urker might appear as a couple tackling the challenges of impending parenthood. But dig deeper and the story twists into something far more unsettling. Imagine a relationship where one partner's unfiltered honesty could be the very thing unraveling a meticulously constructed plan. What's really happening behind those tense live sessions and curated smiles? And most importantly, what's at stake for the baby at the center of this whirlwind? Buckle up, this is more than just a love story gone wrong. This is a tale of motives, manipulation, and a truth so raw, it's tearing the seams. We've all seen it before, staged relationships that make headlines, carefully curated to serve mutual agendas. Hollywood thrives on these narratives, arrangements that bluster fame, fortune, or even redemption aches. Gypsy Rose, infamous for her history of manipulations, is trying to rebuild her life post-prison, while Ken Urker steps into the scene. But why him? Is he a partner or a pawn in the bigger story? The twist: Ken's unpolished, genuine nature is making it hard for Gypsy to keep everything under the wraps. He's not playing the role of a perfect, supportive partner.
Where would you see yourself in 5 years?
Oh, God.
No, you're not running away.
And this is what's catching everyone's eye. But let's not forget that Ken's involvement and his exposure of Gypsy's narrative are not driven by innocence. Ken's unfiltered nature reveals a deeper layer. He's not pretending because he can't, but perhaps because he doesn't care to play the part convincingly. In Hollywood, many relationships are born out of convenience. They are structured deals with mutual benefits, boasting public profiles, securing sponsorships, and maintaining relevance. When looking at Gypsy and Ken, it's essential to consider what each has to gain. For Gypsy, this relationship could be her ticket to a reformed image, a second chance at life post-reincarceration. For Ken, who lacks stable employment and a notable career, the visibility and perceived connection to Gypsy could open doors that were previously shut. But what happens when the facade starts to crumble? That's where Ken's raw nature comes in, a double-edged sword that cuts through Gypsy's narrative while simultaneously casting doubt on his own motives. If you've been following their public appearances, from live sessions to Hollywood sightings, you'll notice a recurring theme. Ken is consistently raw and exposed, almost as if he can't help but reveal his true self. Whether it's an awkward smile, a nervous fidget, or an outright frustration, Ken wears his emotions on his sleeve.
If he could tell which is it. So.
Is this a thing that people do?
Yes, it's a thing that people do.
It's a thing.
It's
Okay.
a thing. All right.
I'll do it for myself.
Oh yeah. How do I know you're not peeking?
This transparency makes it impossible for him to play along with Gypsy's seemingly well-researched narrative. Yet, it doesn't mean he's the truth-teller, hero of the story. His actions, expressions can be interpreted as someone who doesn't fully buy into the performance but sticks around for the benefits it brings. Think back to those live sessions. Ken's reactions are anything but polished. He often appears tense, struggling to mask his true feelings, while Gypsy seamlessly takes control. In one memorable moment, Gypsy subtly corrected him when he fumbled over their timeline.
How much longer until the baby's due? About
Oh wait, I've got
3 months.
I've got a countdown on my phone. I gotta find what I have to
Dude, my arm hurts.
Listen up.
No.
I gotta find that countdown. What did I put it on?
It's about 3 months.
It is about
November, December, and then
Oh wait,
January
here we go.
22nd.
But I have it to the exact countdown. So if I go here, I go to due date.
We have 86 days.
days.
Gypsy, will you please say hi, Chloe?
Hi, Chloe.
You bought your own place, ready for baby now. Well, we rent, but yeah. Or I rent, sorry.
A move that showed her desire for control, but also highlighted how Ken's candidness can derail their narrative. His defensive, honest responses often contrast sharply with Gypsy's poised demeanor, making it seem like he's unintentionally exposing cracks in their public image. But Ken's candidness also raises questions about his own reasons for participating in this relationship. Is he simply unable to keep up with Gypsy's game, or is he passively letting the truth slip out because he's disinterested in maintaining the illusion? Some viewers even suggest that Ken's presence isn't just an accessory to Gypsy's story, but a wild card that complicates her carefully built persona. When Gypsy dominates the conversation, Ken's unfiltered expressions, tight-lipped pauses, furrowed brows, reveal more than words ever could. It's as if he can't pretend to be someone he's not, and that authenticity is shifting the spotlight. But the authenticity comes with its own baggage. Ken's unfiltered nature can be interpreted as negligence or even apathy, a refusal to invest in the role Gypsy likely hoped he would play. In public settings, Ken's reactions often oscillate between genuine frustration and passive detachment, while Gypsy strategically maneuvers to the spotlight. Ken's body language and unscripted comments can unravel her efforts in a second.
More time to wait?
No, but that was an hour plus.
Hour?
Yeah, hour plus. See, I'm the kind of person who wants to get here 1 hour before takeoff, but you're the kind of person who wants to get here 3 hours. And this is exactly what happened. We ended up sitting at a fucking terminal for 2 hours.
But you could always go shopping at the little gift shops.
Who wants to go shopping at an airport? Who wants to spend 3 times the price on a...
Me, I like to.
Oh yeah? Where's your goods?
I didn't buy any.
That's right.
Well, I mean, I was hoping to find a chocolate frog somewhere in the terminal.
A chocolate frog.
The dynamic isn't just about an honest man exposing a manipulative woman. It's about two individuals with questionable motives navigating a relationship that serves as a platform more than a partnership. Ken doesn't seem to know how to put on an act, or worse, he doesn't care to. Unlike Gypsy, who skillfully navigates public perception, Ken shows up as he is. No filters, no masks. This rawness, however, doesn't make him virtuous. It makes him unpredictable. His defensiveness in live session has become a hallmark of his brutal honesty, but also hints at something deeper, a reluctance to play along with Gypsy's game, but willingness to stay for whatever benefits he perceives.
Do I want to change my name? I'm not sure they're talking to me or you, but if you're asking me, no. Ellen, my name is just fine.
And if you're asking me, I would be more than happy to change it to Gypsy Rose Urker.
One day.
The way he says this doesn't just defend his place. It reflects the pressure he feels and hints at an awareness of public's doubts. But let's not romanticize this as courage. Ken's reaction often swings from confident to visibly strained, showing as an internal tug of war between maintaining his authenticity and navigating the reality of being part of Gypsy's narrative. The way he says this doesn't just defend his place. It reflects the pressure he feels and hints at an awareness of the public's doubts. But let's not romanticize this as courage. Ken's reactions often swing from confident to visibly strained, showing an internal tug of war between maintaining his authenticity and navigating the reality of being part of Gypsy's narrative. His apparent disregard for acting the right way could be seen as an act of rebellion and sheer disinterest in Gypsy's tightly woven script. His discomfort when probing questions arise isn't subtle. There are moments of visible unease, clenched jaws, and eyes that shift, revealing that he's struggling to align with Gypsy's polished version of the story. Unlike Gypsy's smooth handling of such moments, Ken's genuine reactions disrupt the seamless narrative, exposing the vulnerability beneath. But this vulnerability doesn't absolve Ken from suspicion. It simply highlights that both players in this relationship have their secret. While Gypsy is strategic, Ken seems incapable or unwilling to play along. His defensiveness, frustration, and a raw honesty make him look like someone who can't fake a smile or force a reassuring word. But is this because he's overwhelmed, or is it because he doesn't believe in what they are presenting? His authenticity may be making Gypsy look bad, but it also paints him as someone who is only half invested, a participant with his own motives that may not align with Gypsy's. The pregnancy factor. Adding a pregnancy to the mix takes everything up a notch. For Gypsy, this could be a redemption arc, a way to reshape her image into that of a stable, loving mother. But Ken's transparency complicates that plan. His words during live sessions reflect a tension that's hard to ignore. This statement, rather than being an excited proclamation, feels defensive.
See the question. What is it? Robin, what was the question? I honestly missed it. Oh, chat's going too fast. I can't. She's not pregnant. This is a fake bump, guys. We're just faking all this for views.
All these people saying Ryan's the father. Y'all gonna learn real soon. Real soon.
I don't know why people blocked you. You know, I can't tell you why. I'm not them.
Almost as if he's trying to convince himself. Critics have pointed out that Ken's attachment to the relationship might hinge on the pregnancy. Ken's behavior during these discussions doesn't exude confidence or excitement. It screams uncertainty. His insistence, repeated over and over, points to an internal struggle. He is staying for the child, clinging to an idea of fatherhood that cements his role in Gypsy's life. Or is there more beneath the surface? The paternity test talks highlights a dynamic that's anything but secure. It paints Ken as a reluctant participant, someone who finds himself caught in a web spun by Gypsy, yet unable to disentangle himself without revealing too much. Observers have noted that Gypsy uses pregnancy as a shield and a spotlight. It's a way to shift the conversation, to demand empathy, and to project an image of new beginnings. But Ken's reactions tell a different story. He doesn't share Gypsy's enthusiasm or her confidence. In fact, when discussions turn to their future as parents, Ken's body language screams apprehension. He looks away, and his responses are laced with a subtle defensiveness. The contrast is stark. Gypsy polished and assertive, next to Ken visibly out of place and uncertain. The unease doesn't mean Ken is a hero exposing a facade. Far from it, his rawness may reveal cracks in Gypsy's plan, but it also underscores that he might be here for reasons that have little to do with love or fatherhood. Public opinion always flips between seeing him as an unwilling compliance or an opportunist who benefits from the spectacle without committing to the role. His inability to mask his doubts and reluctance makes him an unreliable partner in Gypsy's narrative. Enter Ryan Anderson, Gypsy's ex-husband, who adds fuel to the fire with his subtle yet biting commentary. His insights remind everyone that there's always more beneath the surface when it comes to Gypsy. Ryan has hinted that what we see isn't necessarily the truth.
I heard about the DNA test that Gypsy's doing this week. Now, I think that's so strange to me because I've never once questioned who the baby daddy was. Never once said I'm gonna make a fuss about it or I'm gonna prevent this or do that. I've never said anything like that. I've always said, guys, it's not my baby. Like, I've always said that. And I just think it's funny. You know, it hit me last night. Guys, Gypsy's probably already had that procedure done, okay? Because you wouldn't tell TMZ about it unless you knew for a fact who the baby daddy already was.
These words resonate with those who have followed Gypsy's story for years. Ryan's comments don't just cast doubt on her current actions, they serve as a reminder that manipulation is nothing new for her. But Ken's involvement complicates this narrative. Unlike Ryan, who was once fully immersed in Gypsy's world, Ken's hesitance and unfiltered expressions make him an unlikely partner for someone who carves control. Ryan's observations bolster the idea that Gypsy is orchestrating something bigger, while Ken unwittingly chips away at her story. Viewers have noted how Gypsy steps into to manage Ken during live sessions, correcting him, steering the conversation, and sometimes outright interrupting to keep the narrative intact.
I feel like it was very because I watched the first time that Ken went on Morbid's live, and I watched the whole thing. I was there. I heard how well he handled himself. And I respect him so much for addressing the opposing side, as we want to call it. But I agree with you, Brie. I really feel like Ken has a major platform now with his social media having grown substantially, that he doesn't need to rely on any other content creator when he himself could be a content creator and have that power. And, you know, we just had wrapped up filming with the previous season of our show. He has a TV show. He has major social media following now. He doesn't need to rely on anyone's social media to have a voice. And so I think that given the right time, the right space, the right opportunities that come his way to share his story of how we met, how our relationship is going, all of those details that he wants to share with people and in a sense, show them the light or the truth, he will be able to. Right now, it's just a complicated space and time and area right now. And I know how frustrating that could be, but just give it time and the right opportunities will come your way.
But Ken's responses, his pauses, and his visible discomfort expose the gaps. Whether he's aware of it or not, Ken's raw reactions validate Ryan's warnings. Ryan's remarks about Gypsy's manipulative tendencies echo through every live session and public appearance. When Ken reacts without thinking, whether it's a defensive retort or a confused glass, it aligns with Ryan's portrayal of Gypsy as someone who meticulously scripts her story. Ken, with his unpolished manner, disrupts the scripts. He's not the hero calling out the lies. He's a weak link that threatens to unravel them. Gypsy's history of manipulation is not just a footnote. It's a blueprint for understanding her current moves. The way she's convinced others, including her former boyfriend Nicolas Godijon, to act on her behalf shows a pattern of control masked by vulnerability. This is the same person who once played the role of a helpless victim so well that it led to catastrophic consequences. Now, as she navigates her new chapter with Ken, echoes of that behavior can be felt. Gypsy's strategic interruptions and corrections during live sessions are not new tactics. They are reminiscent of how she managed people in her past. Observers point out that her control over Ken is subtler than what she displayed with Nicolas, but follows the same pattern, establishing dominance by guiding the narrative. But Ken's natural reactions and his defensiveness, his visible frustration, act like glitches in her well-rehearsed story. While some might interpret Ken's honesty as a counterbalance to Gypsy's calculated moves, it doesn't make him any less complicit. He's there after all. And whether he's aware of it or not, his participation fits into the spectacle. His inability to mask his discomfort doesn't absolve him. It makes him an unwitting compliance whose actions and words still support Gypsy's larger goal, even as they sometimes undermine them. The public can't ignore these interactions. They see a man who's visibly uncomfortable but staying put, and a woman who's carefully directing the show while trying to maintain her image. The dynamic raises question: is Ken simply out of his depth, or is he playing a game of his own? Gypsy's past behavior suggests that control is essential to her, and Ken's unpredictable nature must be both a challenge and a liability. One such instance was when Ken was asked about their relationship's future. His hesitation was palpable. He looked to Gypsy for reassurance but didn't receive it. Instead, Gypsy jumped in with a smooth, prepared response that only highlighted Ken's discomfort. Viewers noticed how Gypsy's demeanor shifted during that moment, her eyes narrowing as she subtly signaled to Ken to stay on track. But Ken, with his lack of finesse, couldn't deliver. He stuttered, paused, and eventually mumbled something that did little to reassure the audience. It's in these unscripted moments that the truth seeps through. Ken's reactions expose more than Gypsy would like, making it clear that Ken's relationship isn't as cohesive as she wants people to believe. Another striking moment came when Ken, visibly annoyed by probing comments, lashed out during a live session. Gypsy's immediate reaction was to regain control. She cut him off mid-sentence, laughing awkwardly to diffuse the tension and steer the conversation back to safer ground. The contrast between Ken's emotional outburst and Gypsy's polished damage control couldn't have been clearer. It reinforced the idea that while Ken's honesty spoke holes in their story, Gypsy is quick to patch them up, sometimes too quickly, making the attempt all the more obvious. These moments make it hard for the public to buy into the image of a united couple. Instead, they see two individuals with conflicting agendas. Ken, who's too raw to play along effectively, and Gypsy, who's trying to micromanage every detail to maintain a facade. Their interactions don't tell the story of a genuine partnership. They scream of a performance on the verge of unraveling. Ken's realness is both a liability and a disruptive force in their relationship. His inability to filter his reactions reveals cracks in Gypsy's narrative. But it doesn't make him a hero of the story. In fact, it paints him as someone who may be sticking around for reasons that have little to do with loyalty or love. His presence adds fuel to the skepticism surrounding their relationship and shines a light on the inconsistencies that Gypsy tries so hard to cover up. Ultimately, this leaves us with more questions than answers. Is Ken blowing up Gypsy's plans because he's oblivious? Or is he doing so because he doesn't care enough to keep the act going? And what does that say about both of them? Ken's lack of pretense makes Gypsy's carefully crafted story look more suspicious, but it also implicates him as a willing participant who just happens to be bad at playing along. The stakes are higher than ever, especially with a baby involved. The public watches closely, dissecting every interaction, every offhand comment, and every strained smile. Gypsy's history casting a long shadow over her present, while Ken's presence only adds complexity to an already convoluted tale. It's not just a question of whether their relationship is genuine. It's about what each of them stands to gain and what are they willing to expose to keep the story alive. This ongoing saga continues to captivate and divide audiences. As more live sessions and appearances unfold, one thing becomes clear. In this relationship, the truth isn't just slipping through the crack. It's being dragged out, piece by piece, by Ken's raw and often oblivious candor. And as Gypsy scrambles to hold her story together, viewers are left wondering just how long it can last before the whole facade comes crumbling down.